So if you had asked me who I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have told you I wanted to be Jennifer Knapp. Not the audience for this? Okay. Let me back up. So I grew up in rural Ohio as the daughter of a minister, and I listened almost exclusively to Christian radio. And Jennifer Knapp was like the Christian answer to all the Lilith Fair chicks with guitars. She sounded like Natalie Merchant and Melissa Etheridge had had a voice baby. But unlike most Christian artists, she expressed doubt and she wrestled with God. And as a moody Christian teenager, I thought that was really cool. My youth group had this black and white poster of her with her brooding eyes and her guitar slung over her shoulder. And over the years, this poster got so worn that they were just gonna throw it in the trash. But I saved it from the trash and took it home and gave it a new home on my bedroom wall. And that poster kept me company during my shy high school years when Jennifer, after her 2003 album, mysteriously disappeared from music. Nobody heard from her. I wondered what had happened to her. Had she burnt out, lost her faith, moved somewhere exotic like Toledo? I mean, the closest I had been to show business at that time was visiting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland once. But somehow, after college, I was offered a music business internship in New York City. So I made this big leap to move to New York. I pared down my possessions into only what would fit in the back of my parents' Honda Civic, and Jennifer's CDs had to make the cut. So I brought those CDs with me. My dad gave me this warning about making sure I wouldn't be influenced living in the heathen city. And he was probably right to do that, because the first year I'm in New York, I realized, oh, I also like girls. And at the time, it was like this joyful experience of self-discovery. And then at the same time, I was devastated because I knew being queer meant I could never go back to my faith community. I spent a lot of nights watching the L Word and crying. But sometimes I'd put on Jennifer Knapp's music, and she'd sing things like, "Who am I to be fallen?" And her voice became the soundtrack to my own wrestling with God. So maybe you can imagine how I felt when I saw a headline that after 7 years of silence, Jennifer Knapp was, 1, coming back to music, and 2, coming out as a lesbian. My brain exploded. I consumed all of the content I could find about her. I sent my dad her coming out interview with Christianity Today as like a trial balloon for my own coming out. And my dad pronounced the word lesbian as if it were some kind of insect. But he didn't call for her to be stoned. And that was the first time I knew I was going to survive. So Jennifer went on tour, and of course I was going to go see her. And by the first time I got to see her in concert at a little club on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, I had been so inspired by her story that I was out to my whole family with my first girlfriend by my side. And my girlfriend, I mean, we're not together anymore, but it's fine. We're friends. She bought Jennifer's CD for Jennifer to sign, and Jennifer spoke to me like I was a real person. I was working full-time in the music business at this point, but I was still so starstruck. I mean, this person had stood up to a homophobic pastor on Larry King Live in order to pave the way for people like me. I was convinced she was a superhero walking among us mortals. And I continued to keep tabs on her and see what she was doing. And one day she posted on Twitter that she was emailing record labels. And I thought, wait, I'm confused. Does my hero not have a record label? Wait, I'm working at a record label. I have to help her. But wait, who am I to help her. But wait, who better to help her than a queer preacher's kid working in the music business? So somehow I convinced my boss to fly her to New York to meet with us and to play a showcase for us. And there was Jennifer Knapp in my office, meeting with us, talking about the ups and downs of her comeback career and her light, cute Kansas drawl. And what struck me this time meeting her was that she seemed just like a regular Joe. And she turned to me with my unusual upbringing as if I were a comrade in arms who had survived some of the same things she had survived. I thought maybe this person isn't a superhuman. Maybe she's just a regular person doing her best. And then once again, I went downtown to a little club on the Lower East Side of Manhattan to see Jennifer play. But this time, she was playing for me at a showcase that I had set up. And her voice still cut through me, but I no longer saw her as someone untouchable, but just as a brave and beautiful human, just sharing her heart. My boss turned to me after the show and he says, "Wow, she's really good." I'm like, "Yeah, duh, it's Jennifer Knapp." He says, "We should sign her, and you should manage her." Now, I didn't know how to manage anybody, let alone my childhood hero, but I pledged to do my best, and I managed her for the next 6 years. Behind the scenes in the music business is not very glamorous most of the time. Jennifer and I worked really hard, but what made everything worth it was that every day I would hear from queer Christians who told me that just by wanting to make music and love who she loved, this ordinary woman that I managed had saved their lives. It turns out, when you meet your heroes, they're all just people. But the good news is that means we can all be heroes too. Thank you.